Salt of the Earth Farm Stories.
So many kids and adults now never had a holiday on the farm with an aunt and uncle or a grandparent. So many kids have never touched an animal that is not a cat or a dog. They don't understand the connection between the landscape and their food. They don't understand the role that farmers play and the responsibilities that we have. And it's very easy to be demonised.
Welcome back to Salt of the Earth Farm Stories and Part B of our journey to Curtin Springs Station with the unstoppable Lyndee Severin. In this episode, we dive into the daily juggle of farming and tourism and why sometimes you've just got to roll with the punches. From hilarious tales of confused tourists to powerful reflection of the disconnect between kids and where their food comes from. This episode is as insightful as it is heartwarming. We explore big ideas, small details, and why Mount Connor is more than just a scenic backdrop. It's a sacred place for the Severin family. This isn't just about running a cattle station, it's about philosophy, purpose, and finding the good thing every day. Let's get into it. So Lyndee, how do you juggle farming? This is just to remind our listeners, it's 1 million acres with over 4,000 head of cattle and hosting tourists, and especially during busy touring seasons. How do you juggle everything?
We've got a pretty amazing team here that work with us, and it is about trying to keep multiple layers going at any point in time. So it is understanding what you need to get done, making a plan, even though sometimes the only reason you have a plan is so that somebody can mess it up, and being able to roll with it, because you actually never know what's going to walk in the door. And you just need to, okay, well, like we did this morning, just hang on 1 second while we deal with something else and then I'll be back.
And to me, they were big things. You know, I was raising my eyebrows. This was happening, that was happening. Phones were ringing. There are emergency services here. There's a bus out the front. There's a lot going on, but there's also laughter.
Yeah. Let's keep it rolling, guys.
Yeah.
And we touch on a lot of people's lives for a very short period of time. And, often our job is just about helping them navigate how they need to do things in really remote areas because their normal response isn't available. Listen to what the locals say, because we say things for a reason. We're not just trying to make it up.
No, and you're very real people. I've loved my time so far with you. What's one story or reaction from a guest that really stuck with you?
We have a lot of positive stuff. We had some visitors from America only a couple of nights ago. He's got a cotton farm in Texas, and he had the 3 sort of grown children with him, and they were sharing what the kids are looking at doing, and we were talking about how things work here. So just seeing how those things interconnected. So for dad to be able to go to the daughter who's doing agricultural engineering at university next year, or this year when she goes back, you need to make sure that it works for the person who's going to be using it. He was saying it. Here's the classic story. The solar panels on the solar pumps that we have on the station have got a nice little LED light on them. The birds eat the LED light. So whoever designed it didn't think about how we protect that LED light from a predator who's going to try and eat it. So, and Dad was saying to her, just, here's a classic example of making sure that it works for the person who has to use it. So it is really nice when people get it, when they just get it. But at the other end, Ash and I came home from out at Yalara. It was October a few years ago, and it had been really busy. So we had gone and had dinner with friends. We took the night off, came back, and there's a whole lot of activity out the back. The forklift and all of our staff and lights. And so we had a car with the front 2 wheels over the front of the loading ramp. So they'd driven up the loading ramp and dropped the front 2 wheels off the top. What are we doing?
Why?
So we've got Ash takes over the forklift and we're lifting that vehicle and lifting it back. We've got the gentleman involved whose wife is in the car. So he's left the wife and the mother-in-law in the car. He's got out of the car and he's giving instructions on how Ash is supposed to use the forklift. Don't hurt my car, don't hurt my car. And Ash is going, I didn't put it here, mate. Just get out of the road so we can fix it. So when we got the car off and I'm speaking to the lady, I'm going, what on earth? And she said, oh, I'm really sorry. I thought the ramp led to the upstairs car park.
Are you serious?
So, they'd come around the back, they'd taken a 45-degree turn and not the 90-degree turn, ended up on the loading ramp. It was after dark, and they thought it led to the upstairs car park.
Lyndee, why didn't you supply the upstairs car park? Oh, God.
So I'm in the shop, you're losing my nut because it was, quite a dangerous situation. And we had 2 Australian travellers sitting at the bar who were just laughing. And I said, it will be funny tomorrow. It is not funny for me tonight. It will be funny tomorrow. So, So people's understanding of what they need to be thinking of for their own safety and preparation when they're travelling remotely is something that they need to think about.
And what role do you think places like Curtin Springs Station play in preserving and sharing outback history?
Vital, absolutely vital, because you actually need people with the connection. It's not just a staff member. It is actually somebody who lives it and breathes it and pays the mortgage on it and is paying the insurance for it and has made it their lifetime's work. You can't run any sort of primary industry business without the passion. But if you run it with passion and without the structure and the risk management and the business nous, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But you can't run it with just the business approach. If you try and run it without the passion, then it's not the same. I think it's really important for people to see others that are passionate, others that just do the work.
Yeah.
Just get on and get it done. We don't need to have a committee meeting about what needs to be done today. We just need to get it done. So I think that having that opportunity to share that, we are multiple generations now in Australia where kids don't have a connection to a farm. So many kids and adults now never had a holiday on the farm with an aunt and uncle or a grandparent. So many kids have never touched an animal that is not a cat or a dog. They don't understand the connection between the landscape and their food. They don't understand the role that farmers play and the responsibilities that we have. And it's very easy to be demonised, and that's just not fair. That's not who most of us are most of the time. Are there things that we do that other people can't or won't do? Of course there are.
Yeah.
But somebody has to do it, and we've chosen to do that. And are there tough times? Of course there are. We're living very remotely. We're living in, although we see a lot of people, we are quite isolated in a number of other ways, but we choose to be here. And we can find the good thing every day. Really important to find the good thing. And I think that there are a lot of people who struggle to find that. Get your hands dirty. Get your boots dirty, go and see the day break and see the day set. Go in after a really good day's work and be proud of yourself. I think that's really, really important. Is it all easy? Of course not. You need to find those ways to protect yourself. If that means going home with the remote control and the chocolate in the middle of the afternoon for an hour, then find that space.
Yeah.
You have to be strong enough to do that. And you have to have others around you that will protect you when you get to that point. And it is one of the things with strong women, particularly, that we cope with an awful lot. But when we say we're done, I need you to listen. And I then need you to protect me for that half an hour that it takes for me to catch my breath. We need to be really good at being able to say that and do that. And I need you to hear it. And I'm extremely fortunate. I am extremely fortunate. We lost Dawn to suicide. And after that, and it was of an era where, you've coped with worse. So why are you saying it's hard now?
Lyndee, I had no idea. I'm sorry.
No, well, and
this is your mother-in-law.
Yeah, and it's not something that we talk about a lot,
Mm.
but it is the reason that Pete and Ash have always protected the women now. So they create that environment where if I say I'm going home, then he will move heaven and earth to make sure that I get that hour with the remote control and the chocolate, because they know that we only ask when we need it. We have to be good at asking. We have to take that responsibility. We have to know when we've reached that point, or before we get to that point. But you also need part of your environment to be able to hear that. And that's really important.
And how old was Dawn when she passed?
I'd have to go look that up. She was in her 60s, I think.
Right.
I'll give you Dawn's story, which is a recipe book that we've got in the shop. And the front page is about Pete's story about his wife. And the back page is Ash's story about his mum. So when you read it and you read some of that, you will understand why he's saying the things that he said. And myself and then, you know, our children, particularly the girls, Pete and Ash have created that environment where we can experiment. You know, Pete, we only lost Pete 4 years ago. He was 93, and he very much had a philosophy that said it may not work, but it's never going to work if we don't try. And what have we got to lose? A little bit of time, a little bit of brain power. Let's actually make it happen. So when Amy was starting to talk about making jewelry, Pete was really enthusiastic. He had no idea what she meant, no idea what it was going to look like. But she wanted to do it, and he was going to create the space for her to be able to try. And I think that's really important.
So the story of Dawn, is that a book?
Dawn's story, it's a recipe book.
It's a
recipe book of a lot of Dawn's favourite recipes, all the things that the boys liked her to make, and then little anecdotes of her life.
And people can buy that at the shop?
Buy it in the shop.
Or possibly online?
They can buy it online. All they need to do is send me an email.
Yeah. What does a visitor learn about life out here that they won't find on a tour brochure?
That the distances are further than what they expect, that the map doesn't actually lie. It's amazing how many people say, I thought the map was wrong. It couldn't possibly be that far. And I think there's two ends of that spectrum. There are some people who will see it as very two-dimensional. There's nothing to see. It's so boring. You know, there's nothing in the landscape. So some people will see it that way, and then, which we don't. But then there are others who will see the layers. So it's really interesting when we've had people who are doing a paper tour, for example, and we talk about the intricacy of the landscape and the grasses and what the ants are doing and, you know, all of that stuff. They might go out to the rock and then stop back in on the way. It was so boring getting to here, but it's been just amazing what we've been able to see after we had that little bit of time with you. So it's about asking people to open their eyes. So I think the layers, there are so many different stories, so many different cultures in the region, and then you've got all the different layers of the landscape. So whether it's the bigness or whether it's the intricacy, are you looking at domesticated animals and food production, or are you looking at feral animals? Are you looking at the native animals and all of those different food chains? Just the level of complexity in the landscape is amazing, and a lot of people just don't get that.
And you've got a very special rock on your property. Do people ever get mixed up as they're coming out from Ellis and go, yes. there's Uluru there?
So we've got Mount Connor, which is located on our property and has increasingly got the name as Uluru because you see it first when you're driving out. And historically, the old bus drivers would go, first person to see the rock gets a beer. But if you get it wrong, you buy me a beer.
Oh, perfect.
So they're not allowed to do that anymore because they're not allowed to promote alcohol. Yep. So, you know, the first one to see gets a can of Coke, and if you're wrong, then you, because people don't expect it.
Yeah.
And it's quite a different geological formation. So when we're doing inductions for staff, you'll have, part of it is you'll have visitors coming in going, oh, there's the rock. And you go, well, it's actually Mount Connor. Here's how the conversation went. So they're driving along and she says, oh, there's the rock. And he goes, don't be stupid, woman. We're still 160 kilometres away. How could we possibly see it? They drive a little bit longer and they go, it's a little bit different to the photos. Like it's a different shape to the photos. And then they're driving a bit past it because you're driving past it. They're going, did you see a turn off? You'd think they'd have a better sign posted. Why are we driving past it? So we'll have people who'll turn up who still absolutely believe that it's the rock. They go, did you stop at the Mount Connor Lookout? Oh, we did. And we wondered why they called it the Mount Connor Lookout when all you could see was the rock. And, we a little while ago turning up at the gates onto the station, we're going down to work cattle at the yards. So we're there just before the sun comes up and those gates are locked. So we get there and there's a ute there, 2 Australian guys. Can we help you, mate? And they go, oh, we're just waiting for the gates to open so we can go out for sunrise. So they're driving through in the dark. They could see the shape. Yeah. They found themselves a gate. And then we've gone, well, if you leave now, then you might still be able to see sunrise.
So you've got to travel, 80 kilometres down the road for the Uluru?
Yeah. Well, 85 k's to the gates of the national park, or the people coming back the other way. So you'll get them pull up out the front going, oh, I've been driving for an hour and the bloody thing's still in front of me. I've got to be in Alice Springs to catch a plane. Why is the road going round in a big circle? You guys should do this better. Oh, yeah, just keep going, mate.
Keep going.
Fine. So yes, Mount Connor is a really important part of our lives. It's a landmark that we see every day, is the headstone for our family. So Peter and Dawn and Gran and young Peter are all on the top of the mountain.
Wow.
And we have a number of very good friends that have been buried or had ashes scattered at the base of the mountain. So it's our family headstone as well as being a pretty special part of the world.
Yeah. Well, Curtin Springs Station, it's a beautiful place, Lyndee. Now I want to have some fun with the off-the-wall questions. Are you ready?
Oh, as I'll ever be.
Where's your favourite spot on the station to catch your breath?
There's a couple of places. One is the very eastern point of Mount Connor, where we've got the flats and up onto the scree slope of the mountain, where it's the landscape is really quite stunning in that it's very simple. And having Mount Connor as, this huge presence. So there's a spot out there that Ash, certainly we haven't been for a while, but Ash in the early years used to go out when things got a bit tough and go to sleep out there and then wake up and realise, well, it's only a small issue in the scheme of things. But it's just, the presence of the mountain. The top end of the station is quite different. We've got a lot more open country in the top, up the north end of the station. So we've got those 22 different land types and they're all mixed up and scattered around. And we've got the arid wetlands up there, but we've also got some ranges that are quite different to what we've got on the bottom end of the station. So we've got the jump up at Milton's where you hit the jump up and you've got all the arid wetlands laid out in front of you. So that's always spectacular. I like the intricacy. I like to see what the ants are doing. So you've got all that big stuff, but it doesn't matter where you go. You can look down and look at the tracks and see who's there. You may not see them, but you know that they're there because you've got the marsupial mice tracks, you've got the reptile tracks, you've got the bird tracks. So what's the story? So for me, it's about that story of the landscape today and what it's doing. And you can get that everywhere. So yeah, I can't say that there's a single favourite spot.
And that's getting out of the car, perhaps getting down on your hands and knees and having a good look and just taking the time.
Yeah, taking that breath. And sometimes if I've run away from home to do the ball run, to get away from the phones and anything else, then yeah, I might just need to stop for a minute.
Now, what's one item every tourist should bring, but often don't?
Common sense. So screw your head on, actually think about what you're doing, have some sort of concept of what's going to happen if you do that or not do that. And I'm sure with the podcast that you do, it's a theme that you will hear a lot, that common sense just isn't so common anymore.
And perhaps you might not have that 2-story car park.
We might not have that 2-story car park.
What's the most underestimated part of outback life?
The amount of work. A lot of people think we're just sitting around doing nothing. Oh, well, what do you do with all your spare time? Or they're waiting for us we're just sitting here waiting for someone to tell us that we should be doing something. Just the amount of work, the hours in the day that we choose to do. It is absolutely our choice, but a lot of people just don't understand that. And the fact that we have to meet all of those compliance issues. So whether it's on the station, whether it's on the tourist side of the things, just because we're remote. It's amazing how many people go, oh, well, I didn't think you'd have to do that living out here. Yes, I still need to do that. So I think just the intensity and the complexity, people, because they haven't experienced it, they don't understand. And the longevity of it. It takes a long time to get some things done. A lot of people go, oh, it rained. Oh, well, you must be rolling in the money.
Yeah.
The outcome from a rain event is 2 years down the track. So, that people's lack of awareness of that mosaic of what it takes to make it all fit together.
What's the weirdest thing a tourist has ever asked you?
Where's the upstairs car park?
It's true.
That's a classic, so. And we had somebody recently ask, do we go home to Darwin at night time?
Oh.
Okay, what? Like,
we're in Central Australia.
We're in Central Australia. We're as far away from Darwin as we are from Adelaide. But they were quite serious about, well, so do you go home to Darwin every night?
Oh, good on you. You've got that private jet out there, have you?
Yeah, no. I walk across the back lawn. It's 20 steps and I'm home. So,
well, it's a beautiful place. What's one sound out here that city folks would never expect?
So sometimes it's about the fridges and the generator. So the bell there is the bell that lets staff know that the kitchen's ready to feed them. So we use that bell to let staff know it's lunchtime. But we also use it for emergency. So sometimes you'll have visitors that will just, I'll just ring the bell, and you'll have people coming. What are you doing?
Right.
That's actually an emergency bell.
So that's one sound they wouldn't expect.
They wouldn't expect. They don't actually know how important it is. I think the fact that there are so many sounds, there's the wind whistling through the trees, there's the birds happening, there's whatever vehicle you might be in. And even when you're away from the generator and the fridge and all of that stuff, there is a lot of sound you actually don't have. If it's silent, then you've got to be asking the question about what's going on, because very rarely do you not have any sounds, very rarely.
If your station had a mascot, animal, person or myth, what would it be?
We are starting to use a little teddy bear that a very good friend of ours made in the image of Ash. And Ash's nickname with all of the grandchildren and all of the children is Grumpy. So I'm starting to use, I haven't done very much, but I am starting to use, Grumpy doing things. You could say something like the Thorny Devil, but we're probably, it's more about the big parenti, the big goannas at the top of their food chain rather than the little ones. The big bull, the big high quality bull who's looking after his mob and looking after the landscape. The eagles are probably my favourite animal in the world.
Fascinating creature, aren't they?
Oh, just amazing. And we're lucky enough to see, pairs doing their nesting in, over years and years and years.
And they dance in the sky when they get the right thermals.
Yeah, and we have spoken about it. If you've got the top of those food chains, so the eagle and the parenti and the dingo, then their food chains are healthy. If they're doing okay, the food chains are healthy, which means the entire landscape. So even though we're using it productively, the landscape is still really healthy. And I think, it's any one of those as a mascot, just showing how all of those things fit together and how important production is. Land needs to be able to pay for itself. Costs a lot to look after land. So the land needs to generate that income. And you can do that in a way that has basically no impact on the landscape. if you care enough to
Yeah.
do it that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
And you're doing an incredible job there. What's one luxury you refuse to live without?
Chocolate.
Good on you.
Chocolate. And I have to say, you know, we do have pay TV.
Yeah.
You know, I'm paying for Netflix and
Oh, yeah.
Prime and stuff because we need to be able to turn off. We do need to be able to go and watch the trashy TV and just sit and do nothing for a few minutes, not where we don't have to think
I was going
about
to say, it's not for very long because
No.
you have a quick nap and
And
sometimes you're even up at 3 o'clock getting things done.
Yeah, starting the day again the next day. So yeah, I would probably say I would struggle now without pay TV subscriptions.
What's the strangest item a guest has ever left behind?
Their children.
Really? Are you serious?
Yes. So you get the phone call from them going, I've got 2, but I should have 3. I didn't count them when they hopped in the car.
Oh, God. So you went and found the child?
So we went and found the child, brought him into the kitchen, gave him a Milo and a piece of toast. So he had been asleep in the car. So they'd stopped and gone to the toilets. He'd been asleep in the car. So Mum had taken the other 2, got the other 2 back, didn't realise that he'd got out of the car.
I didn't expect that. Lyndee, you are making this country a better place.
Thank
Our
you.
people and our land and our animals. And it's been just amazing to sit down with you this morning. I want to encourage our listeners to jump onto your website, learn a bit more about you. Ideally,
Come visit.
come and visit. Buy a beer, buy a glass of wine, have a meal outside. Just even stop and buy an ice cream.
Yeah.
But you can get fuel here. There's lots of camping and it's the perfect location if you're going to see Uluru. And then there's so much in this area to see. And ask for Lyndee. Have a chat to Lyndee. I'm not sure whether you'll get time, but you'll try.
No.
You'll try. But
we try hard to spend time with visitors where we can. I'm sure you can appreciate we can't do everybody all
That's
the
right.
time.
Yeah.
But we try hard so that people actually get to have that truly authentic experience about the outback, which is what Australia's known for.
And your website?
Simply curtinsprings.com. But remembering no A in Curtin, former Prime Minister, not window dressing. So no A in Curtin.
C-U-R-T-I-N. Thank you. All right, Lyndee. Well, thanks again for your time.
My
Great
pleasure.
getting to
It's
know
been
you.
an absolute joy. So thank you so much for including us.
Pleasure.
Lyndee Severin's story reminds us that rural Australia is rich with complexity, character, and creativity. Curtin Springs Station isn't just a destination, it's a lesson in resilience, innovation, and deep connection to the land. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to follow us, share, and leave a review. And most importantly, stay curious, stay connected, and we'll see you on the next adventure.